Hello, my name is Meltem Koca. I'm a specialist geriatrician and working in Ankara, Turkey. Fasting solids and fluids for long times or more than once is very common for people with hip fracture and other fragile hip fractures. This is not necessary and it is harmful. How you can measure unnecessary fasting? Firstly, it's important to define unnecessary fasting. What does unnecessary fasting usually look like? Most hospitals around the world do not allow solid foods within 6 hours of surgery. Unnecessary fasting will look like fasting for longer than this. How much longer? That's up to your team to decide, although some places say 8 or more hours. Traditionally, services have not allowed fluids like water or juice less than 2 hours before surgery. However, in many places around the world, hospitals are now letting patients drink small sips of clear fluids until they go to surgery. This is called the sip to send approach. If you want to make things simpler, you can check for unnecessary fasting in 3 easy ways. First, you can review 10 patient charts. Don't do too many unless you are doing a research study. Just check the chart to see how long patients were fasted before surgery. As well, or instead, you might audit if they were fasted more than once. If that feels boring, you can ask 10 patients who remember well. Ask them if they were fasted for more than about 6 hours before surgery or if it happened more than once. You can also do a quick survey with staff during your next team meeting. Ask them what percentage of patients they think are fasted for more than about 6 hours before surgery or fasted more than once. You may not need this staff feedback if you already looked at charts or asked patients, but it's a helpful way to involve your team and improve care if fasting seems to be a problem. It's pretty easy to find out whether it's a major problem or not. Actually, you should be able to find this out around an hour at the most. Maybe 2 hours if you look at the data from a patient and clinician perspective. Now let's look at an example. Meet Misty, a patient who was unnecessarily fasted after her hip fracture, leading to poor outcomes. As you watch, think about what could have been done differently and how her experience might have been improved. You will find the story of Misty after this video. Why avoid unnecessary fasting? Unnecessary fasting does not just make people feel hungry or irritable. Unnecessary fasting can lead to dehydration and malnutrition. Dehydration and malnutrition are very harmful. That's why avoided unnecessary fasting is one of the simpler 6 questions everybody should ask, because better nutrition leads to better outcomes. Let's talk about why avoiding unnecessary fasting is so important, especially for our patients. As we saw in the case study, fasting for too long or more than once doesn't just make people tired or upset. It can lead to serious problems like malnutrition and dehydration, and as a result, many other health issues. From the patient's point of view, here's what can happen. Wounds heal more slowly. There is a higher chance of infections or skin damage. Muscles get weaker, which delays mobility and increases the risk of falling. Older patients may become confused or develop delirium. People often stay longer in hospital, and some may need to come back again. Fewer people go home. More people are sent to older persons' care homes. Life becomes harder with a lower quality of life and higher risk of dying. It also increases costs not just for the hospital and the health system, but also for patients and their families. So preventing unnecessary fasting is not a small issue. It protects our patients from harm. Want to know more about the consequences of malnutrition? Then scan the QR code to access the nutrition chapter in the Open Access Orthogeriatrics textbook. A link to the PDF of the book will also be available at the end of this unit. Now let's look at why it matters for health professionals, hospitals, and the whole system. Malnutrition and dehydration create extra risks and problems for staff and services too. It is harder to meet treatment goals, like getting someone walking on day 1. Staff have more work and more pressure when patients are sicker. People stay in hospital longer and take more time to recover. More patients come back to hospital after discharge. More people need help in aged care or longer-term care. The health system spends more money and quality results get worse. And when our outcomes are measured or compared to other hospitals, our performance may look poorer. So, preventing unnecessary fasting also helps us as health professionals, teams, and services to provide safer, better, and more efficient care. Now it's time to reflect. Why do you think it is or isn't important to avoid unnecessary fasting? Think about what matters to patients, communities, or populations, as well as to healthcare workers, funders, and policymakers. Just put down a few of your thoughts. This isn't assessed, it's simply to get you thinking. Once this video stops, just click on the link to the reflection activity. Thank you.